Today, we're turning back the clock all the way to Gen 1, but with a catch. Get ready for a hardcore Nuzlocke of every Pokemon game, but here's the twist. Once I use a Pokemon in a playthrough, it's off limits for the rest of the series. So every choice, every battle, every loss matters more than ever. The rules? They're in the comments, but here's the gist. No items can be used in battle, I can only catch one Pokemon per zone, no over-leveling above a gym's highest Pokemon level, and if a Pokemon faints, it's out forever. Strap in, because this journey's just getting started. I kick things off by choosing Bulbasaur. Why Bulbasaur, you ask? Well, Bulbasaur provides an unmatched edge in the first two gym battles, an advantage we'll be leveraging to its fullest. Now comes my face-off with my rival Blue. Unlike the newer games, this clash is anything but a walk in the park. It's tough, it's demanding, but in the end, we clinch in a hard-fought victory. After picking up Professor Oak's parcel and securing access to the coveted Pokedex, the real adventure is ready to begin. I venture northbound to Viridian City, before veering west to Route 22, where I encounter my first Pokemon, a Nidoran male. Nidoking, as many know, is a powerhouse in 1st Gen, and with a Moonstone, its evolution can be significantly expedited. This fantastic catch promises to be a valuable asset to my team. Once I captured Nidoran, I decided it was time to confront my rival, Blue, for our second battle. This takes place just west of where I snag my Pokemon. I open with my newly acquired companion, managing to whittle Pidgey's health down to a sliver. However, Nidoran absorbs a substantial amount of damage too. Given the risk of losing a Pokemon this early in the game, I decided to swap to Bulbasaur, who promptly takes down Pidgey. Next on the battlefield is Charmander, a matchup that, at first glance, is notably unfavorable due to my type differences. Fortunately, in Gen 1, starter Pokemon didn't learn their type moves until much later stages. Leveraging this to my advantage, Bulbasaur takes down Blue's Charmander as well. My journey then leads me to Viridian Forest, where I manage to stake my third team member, Caterpie. Given that Gen 1 is arguably the only generation where Butterfree truly shines, this feels like a valuable addition to my team. And thanks to the close proximity of Viridian Forest and Pewter City, I'm able to secure my fourth Pokemon, Pidgey. Pidgeot has always been one of my favorite bird Pokemon, and its power in Gen 1 makes me particularly excited about this capture. With Pidgey and Caterpie now part of the team, it's time to confront the first gym leader, Brock. Having Bulbasaur at the helm, this battle was far from difficult. Brock led with Geodude, and I immediately launched into a Leech Seed to maintain my HP. However, Vine Whip dealt such a heavy blow that it knocked out Geodude in one swift move. Up next was Onix. Following the same strategy, I started with Leech Seed, followed by Vine Whip. To no one's surprise, it was another one-hit knockout. Thanks to Bulbasaur's powerhouse performance, we managed to effortlessly defeat our first gym leader. Next up, Cerulean City. On the course of this journey, my team experienced some exciting evolutions. Nidoran into Nidorino, Bulbasaur evolved into Ivysaur, and Caterpie evolved into Butterfree. Capping off our adventure through Mount Moon, we laid claim to the coveted Dome Fossil. On leaving Mount Moon, Pidgey was finally ready to evolve into Pidgeotto. With that upgrade in tow, it was time to challenge Blue for our third encounter. Opening the battle with Pidgeotto, we traded blows against Blue's own Pidgeotto, ultimately securing the upper hand. When Blue sent out Abra next, I shifted gears and called Nidorino into action, swiftly defeating Abra with a flurry of horn attacks. Blue's Rattata didn't fare much better, succumbing to Nidorino's prowess. Finally, it was time to tackle Charmander, which was swiftly dealt with after a couple of horn attacks. Smell you later, Blue! With that out of the way, it was time to visit Bill's place to secure my SSN ticket. But the next challenge loomed large, the second gym leader, Misty. Ivysaur stepped up to the plate, quickly dispatching Staryu with a Vine Whip. Up next was Misty's ace, Starmie. I opted to start with Leech Seed, acknowledging that Starmie would endure longer than its predecessor. Then, Ivysaur's Vine Whip took center stage once more, slicing into Starmie. Thanks to the combined efforts of Leech Seed and Vine Whip, Starmie was swiftly defeated, granting us victory over Misty and earning us our second gym badge. After triumphing over Misty, I trekked south to find a Pokemon that could use Cut and help me continue my journey. I then voyaged south to the SS Anne. Here we face off against Blue for the fourth time. I loaded with Pidgeotto against Blue's Pidgeotto. This time, it wasn't a contest. My Pidgeotto crushed Blue's with ease. Once Blue brought out Raticate, I countered with my Nidorino using Horn Attack. Nidorino cut Raticate's health down to below half. Raticate managed to squeeze in a quick attack, but Nidorino finished off the job with another Horn Attack. Blue then switched to Kadabra, and I decided to stick with Nidorino. Starting off with Horn Attack, we were caught off guard when Kadabra unleashed a devastating Confusion attack that took out my Nidorino. This marked the first loss for my team and a major setback. Up next, I brought out Butterfree, as I couldn't risk losing Ivysaur and Pidgeotto was already injured. When Butterfree took a severe hit, I had no choice but to put Pidgeotto back into the fray. Luckily, Pidgeotto managed to dispatch Kadabra with a gust. Keeping Pidgeotto on the field, we faced Blue's Charmeleon next. Pidgeotto managed to whittle Charmeleon down to just above half HP, but an Ember attack from Charmeleon burned Pidgeotto. At this point, I had to throw Butterfree back in to try to salvage this increasingly grim situation. I got a lucky break when Butterfree's Confusion confused Charmeleon, causing it to hurt itself. This gave me the opening to outspeed the Fire Lizard with Butterfree and clinch the victory. But this victory was tinged with loss, and the battle had certainly taken its toll on my team. After securing Cut, I was faced with the challenge of filling the gap left by Nidorino on my team. My journey led me to Diglett's cave, where, surprise, surprise, I caught a Diglett. This quick little ground Pokemon proved to be a fantastic addition to my lineup. With Diglett now on my team, it was time to challenge Lieutenant Surge. After fumbling around for 20 minutes trying to unlock the door to this gym, I finally faced off against Surge. I led the battle with my newest team member, Diglett, against Surge's Voltorb. Diglett's move Dig made quick work of Voltorb, and it was on to Surge's Pikachu. Once again, Diglett made light work of Pikachu with Dig. The only opponent left was Lieutenant Surge's ace, Raichu. With 2 well-timed Dig attacks, I defeated the electric powerhouse and thus triumphed over the 3rd gym leader. With this victory, I earned the Thunder Badge. With Cut now in my arsenal, I journeyed through Rock Tunnel to Lavender Town, and then headed east to catch my next teammate, the fiery canine, Growlithe. With this new addition, I felt more confident about facing Erica. But before that, it was time for yet another showdown with Blue. Our 5th one, in fact. I found myself reminiscing about the frequency of our encounters in Gen 1. It seemed we face off way less often in the newer games. The battlefield was set in Lavender Town's Pokemon Tower. As tradition now dictated, our bird Pokemon led the fray, with my Pidgeotto triumphing once again. Blue sent out Execute next, proving to be a challenging adversary for my Pidgeotto. After a barrage of attacks and even being put to sleep, my Pidgeotto managed to awaken and deliver a decisive gust attack. Suddenly, Blue unleashes Gyarados, a formidable force in Gen 1. Without hesitation, I called upon Ivysaur, but a powerful Dragon Rage forced me to quickly withdraw in favor of Butterfree. Thanks to a combination of Sleep Powder and Gust, Butterfree managed to fell the gigantic Water Beast Pokemon. Next, Blue played his trump card, Kadabra. Try as I might with Butterfree, I was not causing enough damage. The situation called for Growlithe. I engaged with Bite, weathering the powerful confusion attacks before delivering a final bite to finish off Kadabra, getting revenge for our Nidorino. With his last Pokemon, Charmeleon, Blue fought back. However, my Doug trio made short work with him with a single dig. This sealed my victory in our 5th matchup, further fueling our rivalry. Next stop, Celadon City. Before challenging the 4th gym, I decided to take on the Rocket hideout in Celadon. I carved my way through the labyrinth of Team Rocket's headquarters, eventually coming face to face with Giovanni. Being a ground type specialist, Giovanni was in for a surprise. I led with Ivysaur. His first Pokemon, Onix, was quickly dismissed with Ivysaur's Vine Whip. Next was Rhyhorn, who suffered a similar fate. However, I knew the real challenge lay in his final Pokemon, Kangaskhan. Preparing for a tougher fight, I started with Leech Seed to maintain my HP and swiftly applied Poison Powder to Giovanni's powerhouse. With this setup, Vine Whip strikes made quick work of Kangaskhan, concluding my confrontation with the malevolent Team Rocket boss. I can't help but reminisce about how well the villains were crafted in these earlier generations. Team Rocket just had a certain appeal that, in my opinion, later villainous teams have failed to emulate still to this day. With Team Rocket defeated, it was finally time to challenge Erica for my 4th gym badge. I led with Growlithe against her array of grass-type Pokemon. However, the battle didn't unfold as smoothly as I had hoped for. I was struggling to inflict enough damage, and the combination of poison and wrap was wearing down my Growlithe dangerously. Not wanting to risk losing another teammate at this stage of the game, I swapped to Pidgeotto, who efficiently dispatched Victreebel using Fly. Next up was Tangela, and I struck out with the same strategy, using Pidgeotto's Fly to knock out Tangela swiftly. Finally, I was up against Erica's ace, Vileplume. Pidgeotto swooped in with Fly, but got hit with a Poison Powder. Luckily for me, the poison didn't do enough damage to bring me down, and I managed to conquer her star Pokemon and secure the Rainbow Badge. Armed with the Silph Scope, I returned to Pokemon Tower, ready to free Marowak from its torment and save Mr. Fuji. Grateful for the rescue, Mr. Fuji gifted me the Pokeflute, which I used to wake and move the blocking Snorlax, thereby clearing my path towards Koga and the 5th gym. My immediate goal was to snag a water-type Pokemon, so I ventured into the Safari Zone with high hopes of catching either a water Pokemon or, if luck favored me, a Dratini. As it turned out, a Poliwag took the bait, providing a new team member for my team. While in the Safari Zone, I managed to achieve the Golden Teeth, which allowed me to obtain the HM for Surf. During my time training up my team to confront Koga, I had a shockingly close brush with defeat at the hands of a random trainer. The battle left my entire team in critical condition, narrowly skirting a complete wipeout. Although I emerged victorious, the encounter served as a reminder of the unexpected perils and how prepared I need to be for every trainer battle. As soon as my Poliwag transformed into Poliwhirl, I promptly used a Water Stone on it, triggering its evolution into its ultimate form, Poliwrath. This fresh addition to my team coupled with a long-awaited evolution of Pidgeotto, brought me tantalizingly close to feeling prepared for the impending showdown with Koga. Once my Pokemon attained the necessary levels, which represents quite a leap from Erica to Koga, a jump I don't believe any recent games emulate, I was ready to confront the Poison Gym leader, Koga. I kicked things off with Butterfree. Using its powerful Confusion and Psybeam moves, these attacks proved fatal to Koga's coughing, swiftly toppling it. Next, we were up against Muck. Although it managed to emit poison gas, causing my Butterfree to succumb to poisoning, a couple of Psybeams and a Confusion were enough to dispose of Weezing, without suffering significant damage. Koga's third Pokemon, another coughing, fell just as swiftly to my Butterfree Psybeam and Confusion combo. The final hurdle was Koga's ace, Weezing. Starting with a powerful Smog, it managed to inflict considerable damage, but Butterfree retaliated with Confusion, doing an equally strong blow. Another round of Confusion brought Weezing down to about 1% HP. This is when the tide turned. Weezing landed a critical toxic hit, taking out my Butterfree. This marked the second loss of this playthrough, and it was indeed devastating. Given the grind to level up Pokemon at this point was quite laborious. Avenging Butterfree, Pidgeot came in and dealt the final blow to Weezing, earning us the badge from Koga. However, the victory was overshadowed by the significant loss we had suffered on our team. Before taking on Sabrina, I had to save Silphco from Team Rocket. I quickly made my way through Silphco, obtaining the card key. With Silphco freed from Team Rocket and the card key in my possession, it was time to face off against Blue for our 6th confrontation. As per tradition, I led with Pidgeot against Blue's Pidgeot. A couple of fly attacks swiftly knocked out his bird Pokemon. His next Pokemon, Execute, was similarly handled by Pidgeot with a well-timed fly, dispatching the grass type with ease. Things became more challenging with the arrival of Blue's third Pokemon, Gyarados. My initial fly strategy proved less effective due to Gyarados' dual typing of water and flying. I switched to Venusaur, who was able to bring the intimidating Sea Serpent down. Next up was Blue's Alakazam. In order to preserve Venusaur, I swapped to Dugtrio to handle this psychic powerhouse. It was then that Blue sent out his ace, Charizard. Given Charizard's fire and flying typing, my ground type move, Earthquake, wouldn't have made any impact. Instead, I used Slash to take out the fiery beast. With Blue defeated, it was now time to face Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket, in the ultimate showdown. Giovanni opened the battle with Nidorino. I had initially planned for Poliwrath to spearhead my team, but due to an oversight, Dugtrio took the lead instead. Surprisingly, this worked out in my favor. With a powerful Earthquake attack, I managed to take out Nidorino in one swift hit. Next, Giovanni sent out his Kangaskhan. Again, I used Earthquake, reducing the sturdy Pokemon to critical health. Kangaskhan retaliated with Rocket Punch, but luckily for me, it barely left a scratch. I proceeded to deliver another Earthquake, successfully knocking out Giovanni's second Pokemon. Rhyhorn was the next Pokemon Giovanni decided to use. Deciding to switch up my strategy, I finally brought out my Poliwrath, who I had initially intended to use from the start. Utilizing Surf, I managed to effortlessly defeat both Rhyhorn and Giovanni's ace Pokemon, Nidoqueen. Having successfully bested Giovanni and Team Rocket, we emerged victorious. Now, with Team Rocket in our rearview mirror, we could set our sights on the next challenge, facing off against Sabrina. Entering this battle, I was riddled with anxiety. In the first generation games, the Abra evolutionary line was monstrously powerful. This was because the distinction between physical and special attacks had not been made yet, providing them with impressive defense and formidable attack capabilities. To gain the upper hand, I knew I needed to act swiftly, hence I chose Pidgeot as my first combatant. Starting the battle strong, Pidgeot unleashed a powerful fly attack on Sabrina's Kadabra, thankfully managing to knock it out in one hit. Sabrina's next Pokemon, Mr. Mime, proved more resilient, taking the fly attack admirably and retaliating with a double slap. However, a wing attack from Pidgeot was sufficient to take down Sabrina's second Pokemon. Sabrina then deployed her Venomoth. Luckily for me, Venomoth is vulnerable to flying type moves. A single fly from Pidgeot was able to easily eliminate this Pokemon. The moment of truth arrived when Sabrina unleashed her ace, Alakazam. As Alakazam entered the battlefield, I knew I had to be quick and relentless with my assault. Alakazam initiated the battle with Psywave, thankfully its weakest attack move. Seizing the opportunity, I commanded Pidgeot to execute Fly. Miraculously, I landed a critical hit, which resulted in a one-hit knockout of Sabrina's ace. I consider myself incredibly fortunate, as this battle could have spiraled out of control if Alakazam had managed to set up any of its potent attacks. With this victory, I was awarded the Marsh Badge, bringing me one step closer to the Pokemon League. Now, only 2 badges remain to be earned. The next one being from Blaine, the Fire-type gym leader on Cinnabar Island. My Poliwrath seemed primed for this showdown. However, before I could challenge Blaine, I needed to retrieve the secret key from Cinnabar Mansion. Navigating through the mansion, I delved into the fascinating lore of Mew's discovery. I've always appreciated the intriguing backstory of Mew, despite its unavailability through regular gameplay in its installment of this series. After procuring the key, I was finally ready to confront Blaine. Upon entering the gym, I encountered Blaine, the Master of Fire. He began the battle with Growlithe, prompting me to deploy my water Pokemon Poliwrath. As I had planned, Poliwrath's surf move proved devastating, overcoming not only Growlithe, but Ponyta and Rapidash too. They simply couldn't withstand my Pokemon's might. The moment had arrived for Blaine's last stand, his formidable Arcanine. Poliwrath unleashed another powerful surf. While it didn't manage to knock out Arcanine immediately, the damage was significant. Unexpectedly, Blaine chose to use Roar. However, in a gym battle, Roar doesn't force a switch, allowing Poliwrath to launch another surf attack, securing our victory. Thus, I claimed the Volcano Badge, leaving us only one gym challenge left: Giovanni, the ground-type specialist, and the holder of the last gym badge. I finally evolved my Growlithe into Arcanine since it finally learned Flamethrower, at level 50, mind you. Now it was the moment to confront the top of the gym leaders, Giovanni. Given that he was a ground-type specialist, it would have been an interesting choice to start with Venusaur, but the risk was considerable due to Nidoking and Nidoqueen in his lineup. Thus, my trusty Poliwrath took the spotlight once more. Poliwrath did more than just holding its own. It single-handedly decimated Giovanni's team. Every single one of Giovanni's Pokemon, Rhyhorn, Dugtrio, Nidoking, Nidoqueen, and Rhydon, all fell in one swift move, Surf. This battle turned out to be probably the easiest gym encounter yet. A welcome end to the gym challenge. With the final gym badge in my grasp, it was time to face the ultimate Pokemon showdown, the Elite Four. I embarked on my journey to Victory Road, and I engaged in one final battle with Blue. He initiated the battle with Pidgeot. While I loathed my dependable Poliwrath, Ice Beam hit Pidgeot hard, but it managed to hold on and increased its speed with agility. Even though it retaliated with Wing Attack, its damage was minimal, and another Ice Beam swiftly ended Pidgeot's battle. Next came Rhyhorn, who was easily vanquished with a single surf. Blue's third Pokemon, Execute, fell just as quickly to another powerful Ice Beam. Gyarados, previously Blue's strongest Pokemon, was no match for Poliwrath's Body Slam, making way for his current most formidable Pokemon, Alakazam. Switching to Pidgeot, I began using Fly Attack, but the damage inflicted by Alakazam was too much, forcing a change in strategy. I sent out Arcanine for the first time in this matchup. Firing off Flamethrowers and Fire Blast, I was able to inflict a burn on Alakazam and finally take down Blue's Psychic Powerhouse. Finally facing Blue's ace, Charizard, I switched back to Poliwrath. Two powerful surfs later, our regular final battle was finally over. Victory Road was now the only thing standing between me and the Elite Four. Traversing Victory Road presented my final opportunity to catch a Pokemon. With the exception of Seafoam Island, I had to play this strategically. I was aiming to capture Venomoth, so I used Super Repels until I reached the floor where Venomoth spawns. I kept moving around until the repel wore off, and fortunately, Venomoth was the first Pokemon I encountered on Victory Road. Securing this Pokemon added the final piece to my team, providing me with the complete roster of 6 to challenge the Elite Four. First up was Lorelei. My team lacked an electric Pokemon, so I planned to rely on Poliwrath's fighting prowess, given the fighting types are strong against ice. This strategy was effective against Dugong, Lorelei's first Pokemon. Dugong put itself to sleep, and I capitalized on this by employing Poliwrath's Body Slam to conserve HP. After several hits, Dugong was defeated. Next came Cloyster, and despite landing a few decent blows, Spike Cannon kept eating away at Poliwrath's health, eventually whittling it down to 50%. Knowing I had to switch up my strategy for Slowbro, I sent out Venusaur. A Sleep Powder and Razor Leaf combo allowed Venusaur to quickly one-hit KO Slowbro. For Jinx, I opted for Arcanine. However, Arcanine ended up paralyzed by a Body Slam during the switch, taking substantial damage. Fortunately, a Fire Blast allowed it to overcome Jinx. The time came to face Lapras, Lorelei's ace. I made a risky switch to Venusaur, hoping Lapras would use Hydro Pump in response to the preceding fire Pokemon. However, Lapras used Blizzard, severely damaging my Venusaur. In response, I switched to Poliwrath again, managing to paralyze Lapras with Body Slam. Then I quickly sent out Venomoth, relying on Psychic to bring down Lapras. Despite Venomoth becoming paralyzed after a Body Slam from Lapras, a Psychic attack successfully reduced Lapras' HP by 50%. At this point, I had to gamble. I swapped to Pidgeot, knowing it would face Blizzard from Lapras. However, with dwindling options, I had to go on the offensive. Thankfully, the paralysis worked in my favor, and I was able to triumph over Lorelei, defeating the first member of the Elite Four. Next up was Bruno, the fighting type expert among the Elite Four. Thankfully, this battle was significantly easier compared to Lorelei's challenge. I kicked things off with Venusaur, which quickly disposed of Bruno's Onix. Switching to Pidgeot, I tackled Bruno's Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. My avian Pokemon handled these two fighting types with relative ease. Bruno's second Onix was on the field next, prompting me to switch back to Venusaur. A single Razor Leaf was all it took to defeat this sturdy rock type. The final adversary was Machamp, I decided to return to Pidgeot for this matchup. Although I was unable to score a one-hit knockout with Fly, and Machamp managed to land a critical submission, Pidgeot swiftly recovered and claimed victory in the following move. Agatha was up next, presenting the third challenge in my Elite Four battle. I led with Venomoth, which exceeded my expectations. Agatha opted for an unconventional strategy of frequently switching out her Pokemon, which unexpectedly worked to my advantage. This provided an opportunity to knock out her Golbat, Gengar, Haunter, and Arbok, all with single hits. With her final Gengar, she managed to reduce Venomoth to critical HP. Not wanting to risk losing Venomoth, I promptly switched to Arcanine. Utilizing Fire Blast, I was able to eliminate her last Pokemon and secure victory over the third Elite Four member. It's interesting to note that Lorelei, the first member, had posed the most formidable challenge up to this point. Lance, the ultimate member of the Elite Four, has always been a tough adversary, so it was crucial for me to enter this battle strategically prepared. He led with Gyarados, and I had Poliwrath up front. Given Poliwrath's Ice Beam, I planned to deal massive damage to his team. Gyarados fell after 3 body slams, and I followed up by using Ice Beam on both of his Dragonairs, effectively eliminating them. However, things started to get tricky when Aerodactyl entered the fray. Outpacing me, Aerodactyl launched a devastating Hyper Beam, causing critical damage and putting me in a precarious situation for the upcoming confrontation with Dragonite. Despite the challenge, I managed to eliminate Aerodactyl using Surf. Then it was time to face Dragonite, the pseudo-legendary of this generation. Opting for Pidgeot, I quickly felt the force of Dragonite's Hyper Beam. Responding with Fly, I was able to reduce its HP by 50%. However, Dragonite responded with Agility, followed by a Slam attack that nearly wiped out my Pidgeot. I decided to switch to Arcanine, intending to take down this formidable adversary using Fire Blast and Flamethrower. I whittled Dragonite's HP down to a mere sliver, only for Lance to utilize a Hyper Potion and completely heal his Pokemon. This posed a significant problem for my team, but fortune was on my side. I managed to launch 3 consecutive Fire Blasts, all while enduring Hyper Beam and ultimately defeating Gen 1's most powerful Dragon Trainer. Finally, I was ready to face Blue, the final challenge with all 6 of my Pokemon still standing. Opting for a bird vs. bird showdown, I led the battle against Blue with Pidgeot. Utilizing Fly, I swiftly dispatched his Pidgeot and set my sights on Alakazam. Despite a lengthy exchange of Fly and Recover, my Pidgeot finally managed to eliminate his second Pokemon. Rhydon was up next, so I swapped to Venusaur and dispatched him swiftly with one single Razor Leaf. Blue's 4th Pokemon, Executor, required a tactical switch to Arcanine, who was put to sleep upon entry and had to withstand a barrage of attacks. Eventually waking up, Arcanine managed to land a Fire Blast and a subsequent Flamethrower, successfully eliminating Executor. Blue's Gyarados was up next, a threat I couldn't leave Arcanine to face. I decided to swap to Venusaur, predicting Gyarados didn't have any flying moves. Venusaur withstood a Hyper Beam while managing to land a Razor Leaf. Seeing that Venusaur was in danger, I switched to Venomoth, who used Sleep Powder before launching a Psychic attack. Finally, it was time to face Blue's ace Pokemon, Charizard. I brought out Poliwrath, who immediately doused Charizard with Surf. This made defeating Charizard significantly easier compared to the previous opponents, and with that, the final battle was won. And there you have it. I've triumphed over my hardcore Nuzlocke run of Pokemon Red, suffering just 2 losses along the way. My next adventure lies in Pokemon Blue, where I'll challenge myself not to use any of the Pokemon from my victorious Red team. Here's a reminder of the brave warriors who are now off limits for the upcoming part of the series. If you enjoyed the journey, please give this video a thumbs up and let me know which Pokemon from this run was your favorite in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. Your support encourages me to create more content like this. See you soon in the exciting world of my hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Blue.